Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Runways and Roadways. This is Ryan. We're here with you with Jason, and he is somewhat clean shaven because he
Yeah,
just got back from
unfortunately.
his 50th birthday. If you look really close, you can see the subtle hints of gray in his beard, but his hair's still looking pretty fresh. And today we have an absolutely amazing announcement, something that we are incredibly excited about. Jason, how excited are we?
I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, we are a 10. We have some amazing news. I think it's going to elevate this podcast and at least elevate the brains in this podcast. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think a 10 out of 10 is a bit of an understatement. Less climatic than I would like it to be. So I'm going to go ahead and say a 15 out of 10. So who are we introducing?
So we have the pleasure of adding someone that a lot of people in the industry probably know from their TikToks, their book they've written, and just their overall presence in the industry. We are happy to announce that.
Hold on, drum roll, drum roll.
Uh, uh,
You ready?
yeah,
But
yeah. So we are adding a third co-host to this podcast, and her name is Shayla Montgomery.
say hi,
Hi
Shay.
guys.
Let's say, is that
Hey,
how you want us to introduce you as Shayla Montgomery? Flight Nurse Shay, the Flight Nurse
just
Shay?
Shay. Just Shay is great. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you guys so much for including me on this adventure. It's already been so amazing. You guys are fantastic, and it is such an honor to join the crew. Or I think we're calling it the tripod, right?
Yes, the tripod of Runways and Roadways, the ASTNA edition.
So I think we have something very special for this for our listeners. You have a chance of actually getting to meet the newest co-host at AMTC this year. She'll be staffing the ASTNA booth. And yeah, so you'll get to interact with Shay and learn more about our podcast, the organization, and other things that we're hoping to accomplish over the next year.
Yeah, I'm super excited. If you're at AMTC, please come up, say hi, tell me about yourself. I'd love to meet all of you. So yeah, it's good to know each other.
So Shay, just real quick, what do you love about ASTNA?
So I started going to CCTMC quite a few years back, and that's when I first got to know the organization. And I love, for one, that they have allowed us to do this podcast and get awesome information out there. I just love the community that they put together and all the hard work they do with getting education out to our people. And obviously, we're a nurse association, but this information is really valuable to anybody in the medical field in the transport setting as well. So I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that response. And I know that you have put out quite a bit of content between your TikTok channel and, just a lot of really good educational content. What would you say inspires you?
So when I started making content, I had just found TikTok. It was kind of a new app, and I was a little skeptical. I realized how easy it makes like disseminating information these days. Anybody can make any information. Sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes that's a bad thing. But I love like easy access to quick information and how it makes people so much more reachable. When I was aspiring to be a flight nurse, I didn't know who to reach out to unless I actually met one in person. And I felt a little bit lost initially. And so, what I really liked about getting into content and into social media was how easily it just made even like mentorship accessible. Just somebody who has a question that doesn't know where to start or what to do. There's people out there that you can reach so easily now through social media. And I think that's actually kind of a blessing.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. And honestly, I feel like it's kind of how we met you. We first saw you through your through your TikToks, and then we met at a conference, and we hit it off with how much we all are starving for education. I think the three of us all will tell you we're not the smartest three people in the room. Now, if you put us all three together, maybe we might be semi the smartest people in the room. But yeah, I think that's the coolest part about this industry and technology in general is bringing us all closer, trying to strive to obtain the same goal, which is education.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think that's okay because I find cool information, I can share it with you and I can share with everybody else, just the same way that I would take an information from anybody else who is creating content or putting that education out there as well. So I think this is going to be fun and I think we can get a lot all done together for sure.
No, 100%. And we are extremely excited to have you.
So I've gotten to know you guys a little bit through just recording a couple episodes, but why don't we tell all of our listeners a little bit about ourselves? Ryan and Jason, maybe you can tell us some of your background and what you do currently. How about we start with you, Ryan?
Yeah, absolutely. So, started in emergency services in 2011 as a volunteer firefighter. I spent a couple of years doing that. When got my EMT, was an EMT for a couple of years, and got my paramedic in 2015. Worked as a training officer in a relatively large metropolitan area for a few years, and transitioned to flight just a couple of years ago. And I absolutely love it so far. Think that I'm probably most passionate about education. Still really enjoy doing patient care as well. And I'm just curious to learn as much as possible. And as Jason alluded to, I mean, I don't think any of us think that we're the smartest person in the room. And you and I had a pretty in-depth conversation about imposter syndrome and beating yourself up, and just think we're all in this to gain more education and to try to be the best clinicians that we can possibly be. And outside of that, be the best educators that we can possibly be.
Heck yeah, Jason. How about you? Can you tell us about yourself as well?
Yeah, so I started nursing in 2015 with my associate's degree. I went into regular med surge nursing, was straight out of nursing school, and realized I truly hated it. So I was like, I'm going to switch to pediatrics. A goofy person at heart. So let's hang out with kids, play video games. Did that for a year. And then my girlfriend slash turning into my fiance at the time got into med school. And she's like, hey, we're moving to Augusta, Georgia. So I was like, well, I need to go back to school because most of the hospitals there are either trying to obtain magnet status or were magnet status, and they wouldn't hire someone with an associate's degree without it. So went back, got my bachelor's, and started into emergency medicine. Did emergency medicine for 6 years. And during that time, I ended up getting my master's as a family nurse practitioner. And I realized halfway through, I was like, wow, this is not what I want to do at all. And luckily, the hospital I worked for created a helicopter emergency medicine program. And I was like, that sounds like the next best thing. So got on with the inaugural crew for that company. And while doing that, I obtained my doctorate because I've been starving for education since day one and had horrible imposter syndrome. And was like, hey, well, if I'm in school, I'm learning something. So maybe that will help it go away. Flew for them for about 3.5 years until my wife once again said, hey, we are moving. So now we live in Texas. And I just took a new role with a large corporation being a clinical educator for the central region, which has even put me in even bigger imposter syndrome because now I'm like, wow, I didn't think I was the smartest person in the room. Now I have to teach people who are way smarter than me and have way more experience. So it's kind of a never ending cycle of imposter syndrome and staying hungry, I would say.
Yeah, it's definitely that imposter syndrome is definitely something that is incredibly difficult to defeat. I think that you and I went through imposter syndrome together, at least on two different occasions, and like two pretty major events that led to imposter syndrome. And once again, I mean, Shay and I had a pretty good offline conversation about imposter syndrome and self doubt and beating yourself up. And like, what I'll say to the audience is that, I mean, I think our main mission for wanting to get on this podcast is to really learn from the people that we bring on the podcast and to learn from the audience as a whole. So it's not just about us educating you, or at least attempting to. It's about you educating us. So, I mean, if there's content that you would like to see or have us explore, like on this journey, as Jason would call it, then we are more than open to that at any time.
All right, Shay, you drilled us with the tough questions. What about you? Tell us about you.
Okay, yeah. So I actually got my EMT 13 years ago. When I got out of high school, I was dead set I was going to be a flight paramedic. And then a couple family members and friends said, hey, you might want to consider being a flight nurse. And I was like, yeah, I think I'll do that. I ended up going to nursing school. I've been a nurse for 9 years, but my heart was always in the pre-hospital setting. I really wanted to fly. So after nursing school, I worked ICU, CVICU, ER, and was able to get a flight position. And so I've been a flight clinician now for 6 years, paramedic as well. I've worked part-time on the ground. So all things critical care and emergency, and I'm still doing it and I love it.
That's awesome. I love that your journey has come full circle.
Well, it's awesome to get to know you guys better. I look forward to continuing to work with you and all the amazing guests that we're going to have on the channel.
So Shay, when's your first episode going to release?
The first episode should drop November 1st. I was able to interview an amazing guest, Nurse Gwenny. And yeah, you guys should be able to catch that on November 1st on the ASTNA Runways Roadways podcast, as well as our YouTube channel.
Yeah, can you tell us more about this amazing YouTube channel you pitched us, by the way?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was listening to all the audio recordings you guys have, which is great in podcast form, especially when you're out doing something and you want to pop something in your ears. But I thought, hey, we have video as well of all of our guests, so I think it'd be really cool to put that on YouTube and kind of expand and be able to see our guests, see our hosts, see the interactions, and help us overlay some of the educational content that we talk about as well. So you'll be able to see video format of all of our podcasts on ASTNA's Runways and Roadways YouTube now.